Okay, Dr. RJB here again. And by the way, I just wanted to mention that Dr. RJB is just my initials, R, J, and B. Um, that's how I got the Dr. RJB. I'm a doctor. Actually, I'm a retired family medicine doctor. And I couldn't get my name when I tried to get a domain for a website, and so I decided to go with my initials. They wouldn't give me RJB, so I spelled it out ARJAYBE. So there's the secret. You finally know the secret of what Dr. RJB is all about. Um, any event, this video I wanted to do on depression um, and how we can help depression with some exercise. Years ago, there was a doctor whose name, Dr. Castrovalla, a psychologist, I believe, possibly a psychiatrist. I can't remember at this time which one he was. But I know he worked in a mental institution. You know that years ago we had a lot of mental institutions or psych institutions. They've become rarer and rarer. In the state of Illinois, there's hardly any mental institutions left. Most of them have been closed. And so at that time, there still were plenty of those around. And you had all these depressed people who were institutionalized. um, Dr. Castrobala must have been a runner, and he decided to take his psych patients out running and give them some exercise out in the sun. He found that basically when these people were exercising, they tended to be less depressed, and they needed less medication. And so, Dr. Castrobala figured that exercise seems to be helpful with depression. Now, we know that there are chemicals that are released when somebody exercises, and some of these chemicals have an effect on the brain. And so that's probably why it's helpful with depression. Another thing I told you was that Dr. Kajabala had his patients exercising outdoors. Well, what's outdoors? Mr. Sun. Uh, and Mr. Sunlight is really good for people who are depressed. As a matter of fact, there's a, a, a great moniker that's called SAD, SAD, seasonal affective disorder. And here we got depression and we got SAD. Great name, right? If you want to have somebody who's depressed, they're sad, right? Okay. Well, seasonal affective depression is caused by the lack of sunlight during the wintertime. So, how do you take care of that? Give it some sunlight. They've actually developed some lights that are equal to sunlight, and they've shown that by using uh, uh, um, hours of time in front of these lights, they can actually defeat the seasonal affective disorder. But you can do the same thing by just going out jogging, go out for a walk, go bike riding, get outdoors. Because the sunlight, basically helps with this type of depression issue. And like I said, exercising also is helpful. So when you're out there jogging or walking or bike riding, and you're getting the sunlight and you're getting the fresh air, it helps with the depression. So that seems to be what's going on. There's also something that they talk about called the iceberg personality. And this is a person who's an athlete and they're very energetic, very, socially good, um, uh, uh, but it's only what shows on the surface. And you know that an iceberg, most of what you see in an iceberg is below the surface. That's why the Titanic hit the iceberg because they couldn't see what was below the surface. And the iceberg personality is a lot of good stuff on the surface, a lot of bad stuff underneath. So what happens sometimes is somebody will be exercising a lot and then they have an injury and they can't exercise anymore, they get depressed. Probably they were depressed already, but they were treating their depression with the exercise. Now they can't exercise, so the depression comes back. Um, so that's the iceberg personality of an athlete. Um, and it's just another example of how exercise is helpful for depression problems. Okay, so this is my video on depression, and hope you check out some of the other videos I have on my YouTube channel.